So this problem says graph the curves whose parametric equations are given and show its orientation. And then it says find the rectangular equation of the curve. So now we're given x equals 2 cos theta, or cos t, and y equals 3 sine t. And we're just going to do the same thing we did with the previous problem. So I'm going to plug in 0, and then the next one I'm going to pick is pi fourths. So I'm just going to go every pi fourths. So I'm going to finish this table. So there it is. Now I'm just going to do the first couple so you guys can get used to dealing with these trig functions again. So that's going to be cos of 0 because we're plugging in 0 for t first. And then this is going to be 2 times 1 because the cos of 0 is 1, so that's just 2. And my y is going to be 3 sine of 0, so that's going to be 3 times 0, which is 0. Sine of 0 is 0. Now I'm going to do the next one here. So x equals 2 cosine pi fourths. And that's going to be really 2 times the square root of 2 over 2. And those cancel. I just get square root of 2. Now the next one, the y, that's going to be 3 sine of t, not t, but pi fourths. And that's going to be 3 times square root of 2 over 2. So that's going to be my answer there. 3 square root of 2 over 2. All right, so I'm going to go through and just finish this table. So there's our table completed. Now what we're going to do is we're going to have to approximate some of these values here, because what really is 3 square root of 2 over 2 or square root of 2? So I'm just going to do the decimal approximations to the right over here and just fill all those in. And remember, we can get those by just using our calculator, and that's where it's going to come from. So here they are. So now what we're going to do with these values is we're just going to graph them. So 2, 0, that's going to be here. Let me get a little bit closer. There it is. And the next one's going to be 1.41, and then a little more than 2, so that's going to put me about there. And then it's going to be 0.3, excuse me. And then it's going to be negative 1.41, and then a little more than 2. So it's going to be there. And then it's going to be at negative 2, 0. And then it's going to be at the negative 1.41 down 2.12. So that's going to put me down here. And then it's going to be negative 0, negative 3. So it's going to put me here. And then the next one's going to go there. And then the last one goes back to 2, 0. So now all we're going to do is graph this. And you can see that if I follow this around, then I'm going to get this really nice shape. And then we also can see our orientation is going to be this way. So there's our graph. Now we have to figure out the rectangular equation of the curve. So now this one's going to be a little different. We can see now that this is an ellipse, so it's going to follow a similar pattern to that, and I'll kind of show you what that looks like. But before I do, I'm just going to show you a few of these points here that we're actually working with here. So we can see what the ellipse should actually be here. So this one here is 2, 0. And this one here is 0, 3. And that's actually our vertex, one of our vertices. And down here is 0, negative 3, and that's another vertex. And then this over here is going to be negative 2, 0. So from this, we can get our A and our B. And we can see that our A is actually going to be this distance here. So that's going to be 3. And that's our bigger distance. And then this is our shorter distance here. And that's going to be 2. So we can actually come up with an equation fairly quick now because of this. And this is a vertical ellipse. So our equation would be this here. And I can simplify this by just saying x squared over 4 plus y squared over 9 equals 1. So there's our actual equation. could we come up with it another way? I can look at it this way. I know cosine squared t plus sine squared t equals 1. And if I look at this and solve these for both sine and cosine, for this first one, I would get, actually I'll write it down below. I would get cos of t equals x over 2. And sine of t would equal y over 3. And with this equation, I can just actually plug those in. So cos of t is x over 2. So I'm just going to put an x over 2 in for that. Cos of t. So that's going to be x over 2 squared plus, and then with this one, I can just do y over 3 squared, and that equals 1. And the amazing thing about this is I get exactly the same answer. So as we can see, that is our equation, and that's another way to look at it, just using one of our Pythagorean identities here and solving for sine and cosine of t, and then just subbing those in, and you get to the same result. So there's a few different ways you can actually look at it. I always look at these and realize, oh, I have to get a 1 when I square them. So I think about, for this one here, a 9 being on the bottom, and for this one here, 2 being on the bottom. It's just kind of in my head the way I think of it. But either way works, and I'd be fine with any answer, any of these answers.